Hey everybody, welcome back to the Let's Talk Review Show. I am your host, John. We haven't done one of these in about a month, actually. And today we have 4 reviews for you guys. We're going to be talking about 2024's The Substance, 2024's My Old Ass, 2024's Carry On, and 2024's Hot Frosty. Because, Christmas is coming up this week. And I figured, hey, let's talk about a couple of Christmas movies you could watch at home on Netflix. But we're going to start it off with our 2 director reviews. Our first one is from Frank, from Frank's Media and Reviews, who has a great YouTube channel. You guys have seen him on here in the past. And this month he wanted me to watch The Substance. And this movie was directed by Coraline Fargeat. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm sure I'm pronouncing it wrong. She's a French director. She not only directed this movie, but she wrote this movie, she produced this movie, or co-produced this movie, and she also co-edited this film. So this really is her baby. And this movie took me by surprise, like it took a lot of people by surprise. It's doing phenomenal at the box office. It even got Golden Globe nominations, and there's even talks that this might even slip into the Oscar race and be one of the 10 finalists for Best Picture. And you know what? It definitely deserves that, because we don't get movies like this anymore. This is a satirical body horror film starring Demi Moore, Dennis Quaid, and Margaret Qualley. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. She's the daughter of actually Andy McDowell. The first time I saw her was in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but she's building quite a career for herself. She was also in Kinds of Kindness this year as one of the main players in that anthology film, and she's a phenomenal actress. Her and Demi Moore are the standout in this movie. Even Dennis Quaid is a real standout in this movie, surprisingly. I really haven't heard from him in a while, and he has, despite this being a body horror film, has some of the grossest scenes in this movie when he's eating food early in the movie. I was like, that's more disgusting than any of the body horror stuff that happens in this movie. But what's this film about? Well, Demi Moore, she's an aging actress. She used to be extremely popular, apparently even won an Oscar. But at this point now, she's just hosting a Tybo type show. I don't even know if they still have these, these workout shows that they used to have where, they're wearing the leg warmers, getting all the girls at home going. We're all working out, we're getting fit together. But Dennis Quaid sees her as an aging actress. And this is where, it's a commentary on what Hollywood is. Once actresses get older, they really do get cast aside for younger and up-and-coming actresses. Whereas men, they don't really have that issue. They transition to other roles. They can become older men, older women. It's a lot harder, and unfortunately, Hollywood does just cast them aside, and that looks like what they're going to be doing to Demi Moore. But she's not going to take this lying down. No. She gets in a car accident, she's like devastated just because of what's happening to her life, and a nurse there says, oh, you'd be a perfect candidate, slips into her bag a phone number that she plugs into a USB drive that tells her about The Substance, a black market drug that if she injects it into herself will create a younger version of herself, played by Margaret Qualley in this movie. Basically a better version of her. But there are rules. Every other week you got to alternate between the older body and the younger body. Make sure you're injecting yourself with the substance to make sure everything, or something from the other body to make sure that everything goes according to plan. The narrator in this movie, the guy on the phone, he always makes sure, which great casting by the voice as well.
You are one. You can't escape from yourself.
Make sure to say, remember, you guys are one, because just like any great David Cronenberg body horror movie, everything seems really cut and dry, but of course things go off the rail, and the third act of this movie is just fucking phenomenal. I didn't expect them to go there, but they went there, and I'm not going to spoil where they go in this movie, other than to say, if you haven't seen The Substance, everything everybody is saying about this movie is absolutely correct. And the things that stand out to me, besides the great performances by Demi Moore, Margaret Qualley, and Dennis Quaid, and even that voice, is the beautiful production design, the beautiful practical effects, because most of these effects, if not all of them, I'm sure I think they said it's like 80 to 90% practical with some CGI. All of that stuff is done absolutely phenomenal. We don't get effects like this anymore. This is speaking right to my heart, a practical effect junkie who just wants to see this stuff come back. I was in heaven with this movie. And unlike a lot of David Cronenberg movies where the world is just like deteriorating into disgust, this world is actually extremely clean. A lot of this takes place in a white tiled bathroom. Imagine Psycho, because this movie is paying homage to Alfred Hitchcock, and it's definitely paying homage to Stanley Kubrick, especially like the set designs and everything. There's shots that are just very similar to The Shining, 2001: A Space Odyssey, Clockwork Orange. You can clearly see the inspiration for that, but just keeping the world clean and beautiful because it's a very, very, very colorful movie. Demi Moore's wearing like this yellow jacket throughout it. The substance itself is this lime green. A beautiful movie to look at with all of this disgustingness in it as well, because the movie's commentary is that Hollywood, despite all the glitz and glamour, is actually very, very disgusting underneath it all. And, we've heard those rumors about Hollywood in the past that, it's not what you think. There's a lot bubbling under the surface that is actually very gross. And the movie's an entire metaphor for that, but it's just so beautifully done with these great effects. It's entertaining as hell. It is one of the best films of 2024. If I was going to give The Substance a score of 1 to 10, I'm going to give this one a really solid 9 out of 10. Definitely worth your time and money. You can get a movie subscription right now for 7 days, a free trial. Check this one out because it was originally supposed to be released by Universal, distributed by them, but they passed on it, and Universal made a terrible decision. They let this one go to movie. This is their first, I believe, release out there, like as far as being a distributor, and they're going to be the ones putting out the 4K Blu-ray. Hit a home run right out of the gate. That is phenomenal work. Can't wait for that 4K Blu-ray to be coming out because this is going to look and sound amazing on 4K. Didn't bring up the score. It is a great score as well. And the next movie we're going to be talking about is our channel director, Mr. Smelly Potato's choice for December, My Old Ass. This one is directed by Megan Park. It stars Aubrey Plaza and Maisie Stella in her film debut. Maisie Stella plays the younger version of Aubrey Plaza. And this is a coming-of-age drama comedy film that's available right now on Amazon Prime. Didn't hear of this movie at all, so I don't know where the marketing for this film is because it is a phenomenal film. But until Mr. Smelly Potato told me about this movie, I didn't even hear about it a lick. And I absolutely love Aubrey Plaza. Ever since Parks and Recreation, Happiest Season, she was phenomenal in. Ingrid Goes West. I've always really enjoyed her work. I can see why it might not work for everybody, because every time you see Aubrey Plaza, you're like, that's Aubrey Plaza. But she is so charming, she's so cute, and you just love seeing her pop up in movies like this. She plays the younger version of Maisie Stella's character, who, she lives in this farm town, a very small town, very close-knit community, very close with her family, but she wants to get out of there, and she's about to get out of there. She's about to go to college, leave the town behind, leave her family behind, her brothers, her parents, who all absolutely love her friends who absolutely love her. She's very comfortable in her sexuality, and she's happy. She's a very happy person, but she's just not happy in this town. So one night, her and her friends decide to go into the woods. They're going to do some shrooms. And when she does the shrooms, she sees the older version of herself played by Aubrey Plaza, who, now they're just reconnecting, telling each other about, Aubrey Plaza's like, my younger self, I forgot how you had these ambitions about life. Because one thing about this movie that really struck me and really made me emotional was that exact feeling, like remembering when you were 18 and all the ambition you had before life kicked the absolute shit out of you. Because I remember that. And, now we got 39-year-old her and telling her, not everything goes as you plan or as you hope, and life will kind of break you down. The reason why it's called My Old Ass is she wants to touch the older version of her's ass. And, they have this little thing, and I think I thought this was going to be the whole movie, just them talking to each other, but it actually moves off it pretty fast. She's able to put in her phone number, and somehow, even though they're 20-something years apart, they're able to talk to each other on the phone. And I don't want to spoil too much more than this, where the plot goes, because it does add an element that ends up really building up in the third act to a point where you think they play with your expectations and you think it's going to go one way, and it goes the absolute other way. And it made me cry so much at the very end. I was devastated by the end of this movie. I'm not going to lie to you guys. It's all done so realistically, so well, with real human emotions. And I thought the way this movie played out, it's a short movie, only 90 minutes long. The way this movie played out, I thought was all done so well. Great direction, great writing, and just great acting from the two leads. They have phenomenal chemistry with each other, given they're supposed to play the same person. You do believe that she could grow up and become Aubrey Plaza in 21 years. I love that aspect of it. I love the score to this movie. It does feel a little cliche and tropey for those types of coming-of-age movies like Perks of Being a Wallflower and The Edge of 17. But you know what? I love the Perks of Being a Wallflower, and I love The Edge of 17. So for this movie to be up there with, the way, way back, for this to be up there with those kind of coming-of-age movies for me, I think that's a huge compliment because I love those movies. And this one I absolutely love as well. It was a movie that kind of felt like it was speaking to me. I just love the aspects of them talking about life and what life is and, how to make the best of it. All that stuff really just worked so much for me. You could tell it's a smaller movie. They didn't have a huge budget, so most of it does take place in only a few condensed areas, despite the fact that Aubrey Plaza's in the future, so only our hints about the future kind of just through these phone calls, things in the background. And just like all of us strangers from last year, it's best not to ask questions about how everything is working out, how they're able to communicate with each other. It's best just not to ask those questions, because if you do that, that's what you'll focus on. And the movie doesn't want you to focus on that aspect. The movie wants you to focus on these characters and what they're going through. And for that, I think they nailed it. This is another one of those movies that you absolutely have to check out. And just bravo to Frank and Mr. Smelly Potato for two great choices this month, because I had a phenomenal time watching both of these movies. There's a chance both of them make my top 10 of 2024. And just like The Substance, I'm going to give my old ass a very solid 9 out of 10. And the last two movies we're going to talk about this week are both on Netflix. Both you can check out right now. And both of them happen to be Christmas movies. The first one just came out this past week, called Carry On. This stars Jason Bateman and Taron Egerton. We never see Jason Bateman play the bad guy. He always plays the sarcastic, funny guy for the most part. He can be dramatic. He's done some great dramatic roles, but never see him really play the bad guy. Taron Egerton, he's playing the hero in this movie. This is kind of where his career arc has gone ever since the Kingsman movies. I thought he'd be a little bit bigger by now. He deserved more recognition for Rocket Man, but it just didn't really happen. When I first heard about this movie, I was like, oh, it's going right to Netflix. It's probably not going to be that great. And then I said, oh, it's kind of like a Christmas movie. So I was like, okay, so it's very similar to Die Hard. That's what this movie is going to be very similar to. And you know what? For the most part, it really is. This is a very, very, very tropey movie. And it knows it, I'm pretty sure, because it just starts off just so cheesy. And what's this movie about? Well, on Christmas Eve, one of the busiest, if not the busiest travel day of the year, the TSA, they're dealing with a lot of people coming into LAX, and we have to make sure everybody gets out of here safe. That's what Dean Norris is telling everybody. Everyone knows him from Hank in Breaking Bad. He's the boss of these guys. Taron Egerton's character, he's kind of just coasting by. This isn't the job he wanted. He wanted to be a real cop, but unfortunately, he's just stuck here being a TSA agent, and he's not happy about it. But even though his girlfriend's about to have a baby, he's like, okay, maybe I need to get the money. I need to ask for a promotion. And that's kind of the problem. He asks for a promotion on the worst day possible because he gets put on a different machine, the machine that checks the actual luggage coming through. And Jason Bateman, well, he has to get something through that will definitely cause a huge red flag, a bomb of sorts, or something that's going to release a gas into the air. Either way, or people are going to die. So that's where our movie is. Jason Bateman's talking to him through like an earpiece and everything. It really reminded me of the movie Phone Booth with Colin Farrell, directed by Joel Schumacher, that aspect of it. Just because the way the voice was, it sounded just like Kiefer Sutherland in that movie. But of course, we know where Jason Bateman is. There's plenty of twists and turns in this movie, a bunch of thrills, people die, kind of stuff you would expect to have happen. But again, there's a lot of cliches, a lot of tropes for these types of movies that you've seen a million times. This is one of those movies, unfortunately, you kind of have to turn your brain off, because if you think about it a little bit too much, like the movie Trap, you're going to be a little bit disappointed, because there's some of the stuff that reality, the real world, would just put a stop to this really fast. This would just never happen in a million years. But, for a 2-hour film, this is one you can absolutely enjoy, have a good time with. Me and my wife watched this one, and we had a blast. It's not one of those movies that's going to stick with you after a while, but, it's for a Christmas time movie, a Christmas thriller, something that's a little bit of an alternate to the regular old-fashioned Christmas stuff. It's a nice little movie, and the leads in this movie are both great, so it's definitely enough. It's nothing that's too special. You've seen this movie before, and it's still a pretty good time. The director himself has directed movies like this in the past, so if you know the guy who directed Nonstop and the first Black Adam film, and you enjoyed those, you'll probably at least have a good time with this one. Actually, there's only one Black Adam film. They probably wanted more, but you'll have a good time with this movie. So I'd have to give this one an alright 7.5 out of 10. Definitely something that's not bad, but definitely nothing that's going to stick with you. And the last movie I wanted to talk to you guys about is Hot Frosty. And this movie is directed by Jerry Sicoriatini. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. And it stars Lacey Chabert, or Chabret. I'm not 100% sure on that name either, but she's most famous for the original Mean Girls film. She's one of the Plastics, and she does a great job in this movie. And this is supposed to feel like those Hallmark Netflix movies, but I'm pretty sure it's also a satire of those movies. And that's why I really enjoyed this one, because those Hallmark movies, they're all the same, and I personally don't enjoy them. My wife watches like 10,000 of those a year, and I said, you know what, I'd be willing to watch this one with you, because it does seem like it'd be something that's a little bit more up my alley. And I did really enjoy it overall. I did. I'll be honest with you guys, though. The name Hot Frosty, when I first heard that, I didn't think of what this movie was actually about. I was like, Hot Frosty. I immediately went to a Wendy's Frosty. That's just how much of an idiot I am. I thought, okay, something about the Frosty drink. I don't know why. There's so many movies now that have tie-ins to, like, products out there. I mean, the Lego movie in general is a tie-in to Legos. We've had the Cheetos movie, so there's a lot of different ways they could have gone, but of course, it's actually talking about Frosty the Snowman. Hot Frosty is because the main character, he's a hot-looking snowman. That's what this movie is about. Lacey Chabret's character, Her husband, we find out, had just recently passed away from cancer. Now, this movie's very lighthearted. Don't expect them to dwell too much on that. She's walking down the street she just got from some of her friends in town because it's a small town, close-knit community, of course. They gave her a scarf, a special scarf. She puts it on a Frosty who somebody apparently made a naked snowman in a snowman contest, and nobody questioned that. But she's like, oh, you look cold, and she puts it around his neck, and then, of course, he comes back to life. Hot Frosty, and just like the Frosty Snowman rules, you know, he's going to be great, but for a short time, or so we think. And he really has to learn, and we have to learn all this stuff. He has to learn really fast, just like X-Men Apocalypse. You know, he watches TV, and he learns everything he needs to learn. He even learns how to fix her house because, you know, since her husband passed away, she can't do all that stuff, so the house is freezing, it's leaking. And, you know, it's kind of about them building up their relationship. But really, they're mostly just friends. And it's about how the rest of the town, like, kind of learns to appreciate this guy. I didn't even realize Lauren Holly was in this movie. She's aged quite a bit since the last time I saw her. I didn't even know it was her until I checked the credits. And also, Jolo Trule is in this, and Craig Robinson. They play the cops. They know what kind of movie they're in because they're just having a blast. Craig Robinson is absolutely hysterical in this movie. You know, he's basically, because it's a small town, no crime happens, and he breaks a window and steals some clothes to Hot Frosty, and you know, Craig Robinson's like, we cannot have this in our town. Like, he's taking this like it's almost a murder case, and he's just banging out one-liners as well. So funny in that aspect. Of course, this movie still does have those holiday tropes, and it still wants to give you the big happy ending. So even though it is a satire, I would have liked it to actually be a little bit more meta than it actually was. There's some jokes about, you know, Lindsay Lohan being in Mean Girls with her, like, oh, that looks like a girl I used to go to high school with. Like, those little aspects are funny. There's a great line in the movie because he's watching Nosferatu one day, and he's like, so I was searching through the house for vampires. Reminded me a lot of Elf in that way, where he's just so naive and ignorant. You know, because he's never experienced life before, so I just love those aspects of the movie as well. And I thought this was a really good time. If you were somebody like me, if you're somebody who's like me, who's not into these kind of holiday movies, these Hallmark holiday movies, and you're really just there for the, you know, I watch like 10 to 15 Christmas movies a year, and that's really it. But my wife, like, she'll bang out like 2 or 3 a day. She just loves Christmas movies in this time of the year. So, you know, it takes a certain movie for me to like check these out, and this was definitely one of them. It's pretty damn funny. I can recommend this one, but again, it's nothing too special. I would give this one a pretty good 7 out of 10. It's worth your time, but you know, definitely one if you're just in the mood to watch something like that with like maybe your significant other. I think you could do worse than this. And anyway, guys, that's going to do it here for me on another episode of the Let's Talk Review Show. I hope you enjoyed the show. Hey guys, just popping in at the end of the video here for this week's digital code giveaway. In every single video that we do on Friday, I ask you guys 2 digital code giveaway questions. All you got to do is answer one of those in the comment section below. As long as you do that, you come back to Tuesday's video. I'll put your name on a magic wheel. I'll spin that wheel 2 times. The 2 names it lands on, they have their choice. The digital codes that you've seen on your screen before you today. And, you know, we're getting close to the end of the year, so I'm going to be asking you guys best and worst stuff for 2024. And today I'm going to ask you guys, what's a movie that surprised you in 2024? And what is a movie that disappointed you in 2024? Leave those answers in the comment section below. And then while you guys are down there, don't forget to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, share this video if you could. We also have channel memberships, guys, so if you want to become a friend of the channel, a producer for the channel like John Doe Juggalo and Jet Eckert, you can do that. Or you can even become a channel director like Frank from Frank's Media Reviews and Mr. Smelly Potato, and have your own choice review each and every single month. And if you're a producer or higher, you get our videos a little bit earlier. And there's plenty of other perks, so look for all that information in the description below. But if you got no money to throw away, guys, don't worry about it at all. We just hope you enjoyed the video. And if you did, get out in those streets, tell your friends about us, and then we'll be seeing you around.